Well, if it's Friday morning, you know the routine. It is the Consumer Advice Series, the About Mansfield Consumer Advice Series. And today we are talking about your money, your wealth, your income, your IRA, your 401k, your nest egg, and all rolled into one because this is where we bring in, he's right over here on my left shoulder. Oh, by the way, today is April 1st, and he is our April Fool here in the studio. Philip Washington Jr. is back for his weekly lashing here on About Mansfield. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
And you're wearing your Wealth Building Made Simple podcast T-shirt. Are those going to be made available to the public?
They are. I apparently have a Shopify site being built by my team that I don't know the URL yet. I should probably ask them.
Well, maybe next week.
Yeah, maybe next week.
All right. You know, I'm not much of a social media person, or at least specifically an Instagram person, but I was on Instagram the other day and kind of thumbing around, really just kind of like, what is this all about? What are the kids talking about on Instagram? And came across your Instagram page. And so I wanted to bring some of the quotes that you have on Instagram, and I got some questions.
Let's do it.
All right. One of your Instagram posts says, as long as you live in fear, the way out you perceive will be a lie. And what does that mean for investors?
That for investors, and I'm glad you asked, it means a lot of things, but I'll give some specific examples. So I actually know somebody that is in dire financial trouble, is living in fear about his finances, and so guess what he did? He went and invested in crypto, and he bought some of the most speculative coins out there. At my advisement, because he's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
He of course bought some Bitcoin, but that wasn't all he bought. He bought a bunch of other stuff that is just, I consider, garbage and a hype dream, and every other week he's hoping that it will go up to save him from his current financial situation. So that's an example of, and you can apply that to tons of investments, but a lot of people who are worried about their finances will gamble thinking it's investing in hopes that it'll fix their problem. But the reverse is also true.
Well, and I was going to say, that's no different than going to Las Vegas.
No different than going, same mental mindset. But fear is another, fear also gets you a different way. I have clients with lots, makes a great amount of income, saves amount, and the stock market, Bitcoin, those things make them extremely nervous. They live in fear, and they're constantly worried about these short-term. Like, I specifically have one client for the last 3 or 4 years. I've had to probably 5 times a year, 6 times a year, get them from looking at their account every single day in fear, and it's typically in down periods, and say, go long term. I literally can just copy and paste and send them the same thing every time they ask me. I don't, because that would be an uncaring move, but it's the same. It's because they get triggered, they go vibrating in fear. I got to raise their vibrations and get them back focused on like the truth. And so, and by the way, like, both of these people I know are, they're highly intelligent people. I don't want to give too much information, but they are leaders in their field, business owners, partners in companies, significant partners in companies, just good people, well-meaning people. But in that area of their life, when it comes to money, that fear temporarily, messes with their judgment.
So stay in it for the long haul.
Stay in it vibrate properly and stay in it for the long time. Because if you get the vibrations right, then you'll get the plan right.
You had another post called "A Poverty Mindset: Negative Thoughts Charged with Fear, Inferiority, Hate, Guilt, etc. attracts poverty in finances." And again, going back to that question, what does that mean for investors?
Yes, I love it. So a poverty mindset is a mindset basically of lack. I like to think of things as additive or subtractive to your life, right? You know, positive charges or negative charges, right? If you really want to go scientific, protons and electrons. And if you go to a previous episode where I talk about we basically are energy, right? I like to tell people, hey, we're energy. And they be like, what do you mean? I was like, we're not like matter. And they're like, oh, don't go all spiritual. I'm like, no. Listen, if you don't think we're spirits, right? Go dig up a dead body, put some food in it, give it some air and water, and see if it comes back to life, right? The spirit is going, like the spirit being energy, right? We are energy, the same life energy that created this universe. We are energy. So I go back to him and I say, so in science, if you look at don't go just, this conversation is where science, spirituality meet. When you look at how atoms work and all those things, right? I was like, negative energy, negative spirit, translated to emotions, right? Attract negative stuff from your life, right? So negative attract, right? You math nerds remember this. A positive and a negative equals what? A negative, right? A negative,
That's
yeah.
true.
So subtraction. So you subtract from your life, meaning, going back to the previous example, if you're in fear and you act out of fear, you're gonna subtract something from your life. The person who has $1 million and they live in fear, so they put the million in the bank, and then they go 30 years from now, and the cost of living eats up their purchasing power, right? So the $1 million, used to can buy 2 houses. 20 years from now, it can't even buy one, right? Versus the person who vibrated appropriately, right, raised their energy levels to good levels, and they took that million and they invested it in wise investments, diversified, everything I talk about, and they have 5 million 20 years from now. I'm just making up numbers, right? Now they're able to buy multiple houses or whatever else they want to buy because they didn't live in fear, right? And so these are principles and truths that are timeless, that is all about energy management, which is why most people are, have room to grow as investors.
And through compound interest, that helps that $1 million grow into $5 million.
Absolutely.
That rock gets a little bigger each time.
Absolutely.
Your final post on Instagram that really caught my attention was, if you have no faith in the future, you should probably pause on investing and find that faith. And again, going back to that question, what does that mean for investors?
Yep. So you're going to find all of this stuff is intertwined in meaning, and faith being a positive emotion, right? One of the highest frequencies of vibration that you can vibrate at. Again, we are energy. And again, for those like this, go look at the Science Journal, and I don't have the quote, but Science Journal says, like, we are energy. What is it called? Particles, vibrating constantly in motion that creates the matter, the body, everything that we have. Like, this is science, right? When you read it, you could be like, this sounds spiritual. No, this is just science, right? That's pointing to the spiritual. And so if you understand that, then the highest level of energy, right, that we vibrate at is love, right? Which this is going to be really deep for some folks. Love is not a noun; it's a verb, right? When you translate it, right? Because this is nerd stuff, but I won't go into all that. But when you translate it appropriately to its root word, love is the equivalent of seeing things as they are, not as they appear, right? Which means seeing things for their limitless abundance potential, right? Seeing things good, right? Positive, faith, right? That's the most, so faith, which is a part of love, is the most powerful energy source we can have. And I'm saying that to say it's proven out. So if you look at history and you go back and study, you see, who was that? Crypto.com did the great Super Bowl, Super Bowl ad of the guy that kept every new innovation, he would be negative.
Oh, yes.
And if you listen to him, you would be broke.
Yeah, that was a Larry David commercial.
Yeah. But I mean, that's how life works, right? We don't do well with change, and if you don't have faith in anything, have faith in humanity, right? We continue to evolve. We have never stopped evolving, right? And let's interject humanity with life, right? Life, because we are energy. Life is energy, right? Life continues to evolve, right? Because, like, what's the point of doubt in life? You know,
Oh,
that
true.
means you're dead.
It's
You
it's
know,
right.
and so don't bet against life. Life continues to evolve, and until you understand what I just said, I did my previous podcast. If what I said doesn't make sense to you, pause, go put on some Luther Vandross, some Anita Baker, some who said
Some
Barry
Marvin
White,
Gaye and
some
Barry
Marvin
White.
Gaye, Barry White. Get in the right vibration and come back and listen to it, and then what I say will make a whole lot more sense.
If if someone wanted more advice on science, self-help, or more specifically, financial advice, how can they get a hold of Philip Washington Jr.?
Best way is my website, philiplovesyou.com. No, I'm just playing. April Fools.
April
No,
Fools.
StonehillWealthManagement.com is the best source for everything about what I do, what I talk about, and the content I put out. Philip, or something, StonehillWealthManagement.com. I was about to get the fake website again. Maybe I should buy that domain. That would be a great domain to buy.
There you go. Philip Washington Jr. of Stonehill Wealth Management. He's got the podcast Wealth Building Made Simple. Happy April Fool's Day.
Happy April Fool's Day to you, too.
And have yourself a great weekend. We'll do it again next week.
You too. Thanks.